What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast. It is great to be back with you again this week. I'm super excited because I get to talk to another amazing community member of the Flip Lifestyle community. People out there doing brave things, doing courageous things, sometimes even doing crazy things to make their life better and to change their family's future. And I know you are going to get a kick out of Patricia Ortega. That is my guest today. Patricia, welcome to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Now, I'm always looking for action takers. I'm always looking for people who are my particular kind of crazy. And you are my kind of crazy, Patricia, because I got tagged by you the other day in a Facebook post.
Yeah.
And you had quit your job. And
yes,
then I
did.
start talking to you and I'm like, what is going on here? So like, why did you just quit your job? Like, what happened? Tell me more about this. I need to understand why you quit your job first. We'll talk. First of all, Tell me what you were doing.
Yeah.
And then tell me why you quit your job.
Okay. For everyone in education, I had the best job ever. I made six figures. I think if you look at my overall compensation package, I'm not shy about it. The overall compensation package was $149,000 a year. My salary itself was getting to 120, 119, 120 a year. And I had just gotten tenured. Literally, I think the year and a half prior, I had just gotten tenured. I was a counselor at a community college. I loved my job. I loved my students. It was amazing. But when God calls you, God calls you. And during the pandemic, God had called us out of California into Texas. And he had also let me know, like just in my prayer, he had called me out of the tenured faculty position and into a whole new season that was going to be part ministry, part business. And when God says go, you go. And so in June of this year, June of 2022, I quit my job. And so our income went from $120,000 a year, do whatever we want, making $10K plus a month, grabbing whatever toys and technology we want, to zero. And we are cooking every single day. We don't go out to eat anymore. Like, it's a completely different life. And all I do is wake up, do my devotional, get into work, which is the podcast. And I'm there from 8 to noon and from 1 to 5 every day. And that's what I do now.
Man, this is okay. We're going to unpack this very deeply. People are going like, wait, what's she doing? Does she have customers? Is this an online bit? Like, right. We're going to talk all about that. But I totally get what you're saying. Like, it's so similar, to what we did, because we had the classic good jobs. I had tenure. I was actually going into my tenure year. Like, all I had to do was come back and I had tenure, right? Like, I showed up for work. I actually started work that year and I had tenure. And then, I was a football coach. I had the classic, we had a paycheck, we had retirement, we had insurance, and we had that like in Kentucky, if you and your spouse both teach like in the same district, you don't have to like pay the family insurance. It's called cross-referencing. So we didn't even have to pay for health insurance basically at all. It was like $50 a month for our whole family. And so we had all these benefits. And my wife actually, Jocelyn, she loved her job. Like, not like loved like a passion job, like it wasn't her dream to always be it, but she didn't necessarily want to quit. I mean, it was like a good job. We had stable income. And like, there was a lot of like concern when we were talking about quitting our jobs, like, oh my gosh, we're giving up tenure, the safe tenure, or we're giving up the steady paycheck. But, I felt, and Jocelyn to some extent felt, but like not as much as me, I felt owned by the school. I felt like they felt like they could do anything. They could tell me when I had to think, what I had to think, when I had to think it, what I had to agree to. And that was where it didn't sit right with me, right? Like, you felt this like purpose or calling, you know what I'm saying? And like, didn't your husband quit his job too? Did this happen also? Like, are you guys double crazy? Is that what happened?
We're just crazy. We're just nuts. And on the outside, it looks like crazy. We have so much peace about this, about living the way God has called us to live and taking care of our bodies and our time as a gift. And so my husband, he quit. So he wasn't working. He was a student when I quit. And so again, we went from one large income to no income at all. And so eventually, I think it was like a month or two before he was like, I think I'm going to start working and, like bring something in and I'll work and go to school. I'm like, okay. So he became a registered behavioral therapist. loved his job. But literally, it's so funny, literally last Thursday. So just a week, a couple days before today, before you and I talked, he got sick again. He had gotten sick 4 times in 4 months. And so he gets sick, but this time he had like a little bit of blurry vision. His fingers were tingling, like not good signs. And he's like, I can't be doing this. I'm too young to be getting sick this much. And really what's happening is, this organization was, and it happens all the time, they're bringing in children that have fevers and still providing them services when they're around all these other people. You've got like a triple demic going on right now. You got all these different things. Everyone's sick. And so my husband's getting sick over and over again. And so crazy thing is they bring sick people in. At the same time, they don't give any sick days. So you don't get paid for your sick day. At the same time, if you don't come in and don't have a doctor's note, which they don't provide great insurance, so we're not insured under them. So now we got to pay $130 to get an in-person doctor's note. And if they don't have that, he gets written up.
Jeez,
and I'm like,
man,
this is just, and the people he works with are amazing. Like he loved his job, but he had this really frank conversation with the manager of like, I just can't put myself in this situation. Like, it's like putting myself in danger over and over again. And, he and I talked and we're like, this is not how you're supposed to steward your health, and the way that they would, out of policy, they'd be like, hey, you need to bring in your doctor's note. And I just thought, they don't own you. They don't own your body. They don't own your health. Like, and not only that, they think they own you, but at the same time, by policy, they're the ones who are making you sick. It just was really frustrating. And so he quit his job and we're back to a no W-2 income.
I don't understand. This is a good parallel to like why I'm just so passionate, which you've seen me in speaking and in the community and like on the podcast. Like I'm just like relentlessly not angry. I wouldn't call it angry, but like I would call it a passion, but not like the good kind of passion. Like I'm just so furiously passionate about trying to help people start online businesses where they have more control over their time in life, because, I've been in situations where I was treated like that. And, I have employees. I mean, I have a company and I have a lot of people that work for me, but like, it's like, I just wake up every day. I'm going to cry. Hold on a second. I just never want to be that person. And like, I strive to create an environment where our people are taken care of and people can take off sick and people don't have to always worry about everything. And, and of course we all balance that with practical realities of running companies and things like that. But like, it just pains me to think that the world runs this way. And and because people are so cheap and so power driven and it's just the reason why the economy is going to change. Like you have no choice. Like everyone listening to my voice right now, I bet there's thousands of you out there who are hearing Patricia's story already and like, yeah, that's my boss. Yeah, that's where I work. But this is not how it's going to be in 5 years. The people who go out and create side hustles and create their own income streams are going to have more choices. And the employers out there are going to have to start being humans and treating people like humans, or they're not going to be able to find employees and grow companies, because like everyone should have at least a side hustle, if not their own business and their own income, because the internet lets you do it. It's crazy not to get involved in it. And when you have something, you don't have to put up with anything. And that's what we're trying to do here at Flip Lifestyle, right? Like we're trying to flip our lives. We're trying to give ourselves choices. And we're like, no, we're not putting up with this anymore. And now you're a cart before the horse person. You're like, I ain't putting up with it, period. I'll build the plane as I'm flying it. Dang it. So like, I love that courage that you guys had to just go out there and do it. But me and Jocelyn have this kind of philosophy in our life. When we like to put ourselves in uncomfortable situations with our back to the wall. Like we purposefully do this all the time. We will cut off deals that are making great money and make ourselves do something else if we don't like what's happening. We will invest a metric crap ton of money into something, and be like, we have to get ROI now. And I think people don't do what you're doing enough in their life. Like you have given yourself no choice but to succeed, right? And that's really powerful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the things where we don't grow in comfort. And that's another one of the reasons I loved my job, right? But but I value my growth as a person. And for me, I think it's different for everyone, but for me, I was getting complacent. And I knew I was doing good work. I wasn't doing my best work. I knew I was enjoying my work, but I knew that I wasn't going to, like, there wasn't newness. And I really thrive off novelty and newness and like all of that. And so I just felt like, ooh, I don't know if I could do 30 years of, you know what I mean?
Totally. I've been there. Trust me. I've looked up at lunch, eating my lean cuisine and looking at the lesson I'm teaching after lunch going, do I really want to tell people Abraham Lincoln's the 16th president 4 more times today, times 30 years? I'm not sure if I want to do this anymore. So I know what you're talking about.
I mean, I loved it. But I was like, okay, I've got to look 10 years from now. You know, right now I love it, but 10 years from now. And to be honest, I didn't even think about any of these things until I felt like God was calling me out. And then I was like, okay, if God's calling me this way, I need to look at the grass on this side and stop like reminiscing on what I'm losing, as much as it's painful, but otherwise I would have never made the jump. Man. And I just feel like I have to look at the opportunity that's on the other side.
Well, let's talk about, God works in mysterious ways, of course, and how we came together and how we met each other was you came and heard me speak at an event, and then you saw the Flipped Lifestyle community, got involved in the community, and you're like, online business is a thing, right? Like, I mean, and you kind of, it sounds like you had dabbled a little bit beforehand. It'd
been maybe 2 years, because the first thing that happened, the thing that kind of set it all off, I might get into a little controversy here, but the thing that set it off is that I got an email that said something like, this is what we do now. And it was just something that wasn't aligned with my values. And so that's when I was like, okay, God, like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to remain here, or do you want me to?
This was at your former job, right?
Yes. Yeah. We were asked to say and do things that were against my values. And so I was like, what do I do? I sought God in prayer, and it just kind of came to me like, this is the point at which I'm going to have you step out and basically do part business, part ministry.
Basically, your employer did something that was against your values. Again, our stories are very similar. The final straw for me was they told me that I had to share all the lesson plans I created with the whole state of Kentucky's teacher. And I'm like, wait a minute. So I have to put in all this work and give it to people who are just going to use my lesson plans for free. And then you own it when I put it on the hard drive. And they're like, yes, we own that when you create it.
Wow.
And I was like, no, you don't own my thoughts, and you don't own my mind, and you don't own my work. That's not cool. That was actually a kind of a final. So they did something that was against my values, basically. I hear what you're saying. They were doing something against like your values, your moral values, or something else. You said, I'm out. Okay. So what happened next? What happened? Like when you're like, what happened next? Like, was this before Flip Lifestyle or after Flip Lifestyle?
This is like a year and a half before.
Okay,
before we even knew we were going to move to California, before we even knew we were going to move. And so so once I get that nudge, that's when I start looking at online business. And I'm like, I've always wanted to, like when I was young, I was like, I'm going to write a book and it's going to be on Oprah. Like I just always had this like thing, that I was going to share something, or I was going to, something like that. So I started looking online. I looked into coaching. I went into a different mastermind that was set up specifically for high ticket one-on-one coaching. It was awesome. They got me set up for, one-on-one coaching. I kind of had an idea of what I was doing, but I didn't know how to get the audience. That was my big thing.
Many people leave that out in coaching programs because it's kind of easy to create products and do some of the stuff that's online, but a lot of people don't know how to build. They don't know how to get attention, right? And that's why a lot of people don't omit it, but don't go down the rabbit hole. It's easy to focus on selling. It's easy to focus on product, but marketing's where it's at. I mean, that's where you've got to, the better mousetrap doesn't win. It's the mousetrap that everyone sees on the commercial that wins, right?
Yeah. Well, I didn't have a mousetrap.
You didn't have a mousetrap or a commercial.
I didn't have any mousetrap. I didn't have any mousetrap. But then when I saw you speak, like I was like, oh, this is doable. Like I can do this. And high ticket is really difficult to get. And so, yes, when I get a client, it's like a major, major win, but it's not consistent. And so that's where I was like, okay, I also don't want to trade hours for hours. So let me have like two, a very boutique, like just a few clients at a time where I can really go all in with those clients, but then have the membership where I can do one-to-many. And so that's 100%. Kind of what you introduced me to when I heard you speak.
Yep. It's the best funnel model we've ever seen. Right. And a lot of people like I mean, I'm really known for memberships, especially because like I do talk about it a lot because I believe in it, because I know the stability that having 100 people paying me every month gave my family after we quit our jobs. Like it was just like, I can't lose now. Like I can lose, but it's going to be really hard for someone to take the baton out of my hand, because everyone doesn't quit in the same month. And it's easier to get more people to replace them at a lower ticket, like $50, $100 a month. And then what I have found, which is spectacular, is buyers buy. Like when you build your business around like, it's a layer, right? We may start with a community membership that's like $50 a month. But if you have 100, 200 of those people who are really into your community and really into it, like it's really easy to have those 10 boutique clients, because the people there, like sometimes we'll have people that will bubble up out of that and they'll become clients for 6 months to a year. But then a couple of them may fall off, but then there's a couple more that come back in from the membership, right? So instead of going to these people who aren't paying you anything and asking them for $500 a month or $1,000 a month or whatever you charge, you're asking people to like step up in their journey and up their game for a limited time. And then they go back into the community and they still pay you monthly, but they might bubble back up. I've had people sometimes will come into coaching for 6 months, leave coaching for 6 months, come back to coaching for 6 months, right? Because they're leveling up in their journey. So it's not just the concept that we call the floor. I don't know if you've heard us say that in the blueprint. Like the membership represents a floor that you can't, your family can't fall below. You know, if you're making $10,000 a month, you have 100 people paying you $100 a month, then your floor is higher than most people's ceiling, right? But then your ceiling is, well, but what if I have 10 other people paying me $10,000? Like, it's like that comes from that, right? So now you have this amazing dynamic where you can make as much as you want and not worry about going down below a certain point. You know?
Yeah.
So now tell me about the online business then. Okay. So you've got this, you've heard this, you've gotten into the membership model, you've gotten into the community. We can talk more about what you've done in the community, but tell us what you've built so far. Like I'm looking at your website right now. So tell me about like the website, the podcast, and kind of what you're doing here.
Yeah. So I've got a website that it's like the 4th or 5th iteration, because it just takes time to narrow down the messaging. But I've got a website
what's the domain name? What's your domain name?
Oh, it's theuncommoncareer.com.
Theuncommoncareer.com. And it says, I love how you're clear, not clever. Like that's exactly, it says career coaching with Christian values.
Yes.
That's so simple and perfect. Yeah. Sometimes I'll go log in and people have like a 97-word description, right? And I'm like, no, listen to Patricia. She's got this correct. Okay. Right. Like,
well,
so this is
I'm
really
listening
good
to you, because I redid everything when I went through Flip Lifestyle. I redid literally everything. I was all over the place, and I am, getting it down to where it's a very clear message now.
Is dialed in. I mean, it's beautiful. There's like 12 words above the fold here, right? And like, it's even like, I love the way it's even built, because it says you're in the right place if ... And like, that's where you have to scroll. So like, it's like textbook how you're supposed to do everything on your page. You know what I'm saying?
I listen.
Yeah, you're a good listener. You're a good listener. So you have this blog website area, and then like you have a podcast too, right?
Yeah, so I don't have a blog. I technically do, but it's underground. I don't really do anything with it because I decided it was just too much. So I've got the website.
I consider my blog like the podcast. Like I don't blog, but I have a post about my podcast. You know what I'm saying? So when I say a blog, I'm more I think that's my synonym for website is what I'm saying. Basically.
Oh, yes. So I've got the blog. I've got that. I've got the podcast. And then I use the podcast as like a long form content to then build a newsletter around that's kind of like introducing you to the podcast, like conversationally. And then it also kind of doubles as the show notes for the podcast. And I just kind of tweak a little bit of it.
And that's your email. That's how you get people on the email list right now.
I don't. And that's my problem. So the podcast, the newsletter, the website, of course. I opened the course with one member. I don't have anything in there, but I know what I'm going to do like each week kind of thing. I just don't have it built out until we.
So you kind of pre-launched and got someone to join?
Yeah, actually. And that was not typically like something I would do because I want it to be like perfect or whatever. But Jen was so encouraging. Like her and her son like really wanted to join. And I spoke at the spotlight last week and she was like, come on, we're really excited.
Oh, I see what's going on here. Okay, hold on.
So I was
so let me
fine.
explain to my audience here what's happening. If you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on the podcast, you're probably royally confused right now because you're not in the community and you should be.
Yeah.
So basically what we have is we are always in the community is really the heartbeat of everything. So like, we have like 12 calls a week that are like happening for the community. These are live calls that people can come in, you can hang out with the community, and we have student spotlights all the time. When we see people taking action, we immediately elevate them onto these stages we call student spotlights or success spotlights. And so Jen, which is Jen Trinidad of budgetdivas.com, was like listening to this student spotlight, one of our members, and she decided that your thing would be perfect for her son. Is that what it is? Who's an older kid. Yeah. And like, it's hilarious. I can't even picture Jen Trinidad having a kid old enough to join anything because she looks like she's like 25. But like so now one of our members joined your thing. And it's like, oh man, you got a human guinea pig out of the Flip Lifestyle community. That's what it's all about right there. When you get your guinea pigs.
I'm just so excited to literally, and he's getting such a great deal because I'm like, I literally am it's going to feel like one-on-one coaching if you're my only client, you know? And so for better or for worse, however this turns out, I've got one member, I'm starting on January 3rd. And so I'm just opening it up now to everybody being like, it's a really small group. It's going to feel like one-on-one coaching. And if I get more, excellent. And if I don't, excellent. Like,
awesome.
It's fine.
You are a rock star, by the way, because like, man, I'm telling you, if everyone would just do the things you're doing, and I'm not telling everyone to quit their job right now. That's not what I'm telling you. But like, but if everyone would, have courage, like courage is not the absence of fear. It is the overcoming of fear. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and also the mentality you have, which is clear is, I live deeply by the philosophy that the obstacle is the way. Like we look for the enemy, we look for fear, we look for obstacles, because if we see something that's like sunshine and green grass, and I'm like, that is not the way we're going to succeed. Like that's not that's a level of success, but that's not the level I want to get to. Right. Because the big levels are, so if everyone would just do those things, like good things happen. Like if you give yourself no chance but to succeed, you have to push forward, you have to take the next step, you have to build it. And I always tell people brick by brick, like one thing at a time. Like you're literally doing that. You're like, I'm going to record a podcast, I'm going to get listeners, I'm going to have a newsletter, I'm going to find a member, daggone it, to test this thing, like, and I'm going to put my feet to the fire because now I have a customer that I have to serve, and now I'm going to get 10 more, and I'm going to over deliver for them, and then you're going to build the thing that can grow into something at scale. Right. Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's, I can't say that there hasn't been challenges along the way, because I know every single time I hop on that phone call, there's people having mindset issues, and I'm one of those people. And so I used to be like, okay, I'm not, what if I don't get followers? What if I don't this? And I still struggle with it every single day. I struggle with it. But to be honest, like I wouldn't have it any other way, because if I don't go through that struggle, then I'm always going to be on the outside. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, I'm just tired of being on the outside. And so I'm like, I'm going to cry my way through this, dang it. I'm going to have the most cringeworthy podcast, the most cringeworthy reels, like, because after the cringe, it's going to come something that's like the actual message that's supposed to come out, So I'm literally, I still am going through those like growing pains, but like, you have to go through those growing pains. How does the community help you with that? Like, cause you're very active in the community, like, and like it's so funny, man. People think you have to like make $1 million to inspire somebody. But like, I specifically know from my team's reports that like you and your journey is even inspiring people in the community. Right. So like, what is it like having people to cry through it with you? I mean, I'm pretty sure that a lot of DeLynne's calls are like, we'll have like 20, 50, whatever people on a call. And it's like, man, we're all just crying together here. This is like, because I know that's how my mastermind is too. Like when something goes wrong, I'm like, guys, I need to cry for a few minutes and talk about this. Like, how does that help? Like having a community, I
was a part of another community and they were amazing. I loved it. Right. But there's something when I met y'all, like, I was like, I'm home. Like, this is my community, because number one, like we share our faith, and that's really important to me. But more than anything else, like, I know you've said it before. I don't know which episode. I think it was last week's episode or maybe a couple weeks prior, but you had said something like, oh, I'm not very sensitive. Like, Delynn helps with that kind of thing. Okay. Literally like this group is like everything. Like there are times when I don't have time, but I'll literally just put it on as I'm just listening like it's a podcast because I'm doing something else, but I try not to miss it because the moments, like you said, when someone gets one member, I'm like, oh, they broke through, like, and so that gives me hope. Like, okay, my one member is there. If someone else can do it, I can do this too. There's nothing wrong with me. I just need to keep doing what I'm doing. And if someone else got there, I can get there too. And so I see when they have, and it's part of like something you call growth mindset. Like when someone else has the success, I used to be like, oh, how come I'm not, blah, 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 And so now it's totally different. This has been years ago, but it's totally different where when someone has a success doing something that I want to do, I'm like, yes, like that means it's possible. So that's huge. And then when I'm having a bad day, either I'll share or someone else will share. And the way, I know this is a bad way of saying it, but it's almost like ants swarming where it's like, everyone is just like, we love you. You're so good. And it's like this hot seat where like, you can't get away from it.
It's like, that's what the Flip Lifestyle community is. It's like therapy. Ants swarming. And over the sugar of love for each other, right? Like it's like I've never heard anyone say that
like
before. That's amazing.
Deny, like literally, I think it was just a couple of days ago. One of our lovely members was having a hard time, and the way it turned into this like, I don't know, I can't even explain it. Like everybody was encouraged, and there was just no way that she could step off that phone call feeling the way she did when she stepped on. It's just impossible.
My goal with our community has always been, well, one, it is a community. Like that's why I don't call it like the Flipped Lifestyle program or coaching program or whatever. Like, no, whenever you buy into something, whether it's go to one of our events or the Flipped Lifestyle experience, and you're just kind of testing the waters, or you go all in and you're in coaching and you're in the community and you're in all these things. Yeah. Like it was always designed first, community first. We always think community first. And then you have to have coaching. Like coaching is the next level. You have to have the blueprint. Like the blueprint is the just go do this, right? But I've always tried to balance it out too, even when I'm building this team. Like I know, like I'm an extremely passionate, emotional guy. Like I took my kids to see the new Avatar movie Saturday. Yeah. And like I was just weeping. Oh, it's so good. It's amazing. And I'm just weeping at this one part because something horrific happens in the movie, and my kids are just watching their dad so I am definitely like not a hold back emotions guy, but I also know that I was a football coach for 10 years and that comes through sometimes because I am very harsh sometimes, but like I balance it out by I try to hire like Delynn is our community manager right now, and she's amazing. Like the most loving, amazing, desperately wants everyone to succeed, mama bear of the community, right? And then then I hire like coaches that are like, nope, shut up and do this. Like, it's like I'm trying to always balance it, right? Like, so we have to keep all the balance in the force as the community, but we all need both those sides of the coin. And I think that like in a lot of other programs, you get either empty promises where people don't fulfill, or you get all carrot, no stick, no community, right? Like, so there's not, and that's what we have in Flipped Lifestyle that makes me proud is when I hear stories like this, like ants swarming over something. No, you are not allowed to be sad when you leave this call, right?
Not stopping.
You are not stopping. And like, what's funny is it's like, we have members, like we had a member, I think a couple of weeks ago named Paul, who came on and did a spotlight, and he had just had his second 5-figure month. I mean, that's over 11 grand he made in a month, right? And what's amazing is, also, then you have the person who maybe only has one member and they're celebrated the same, right?
Yeah.
And then you have someone who has the $10,000 a month business and they have a struggle and they bring it, and no one says like, oh, you made $10,000. Sorry, you didn't make 15. No, it's the same thing. It's like ants swarming. Like, it's okay. You're going to be okay. It's going to be fine. Like, and it's the same thing as someone who lost their second member and they're mad. They're bad. That what's wrong with me? My product sucks. Like, it's the same thing, because all success deserves to be celebrated like that, and all challenges deserve to be supported like that. And that's kind of what we're trying to build here, It
is. Yeah. It's not about like the accomplishment or the setback necessarily. It's like about the person and the fact that this is one of our community members.
Yes, it's the person who is taking action. And that's the threshold. Once you start taking action every day and you're consistent with that and you're prolific with that and you're relentless with that, like you guys are, then that's kind of like the initiation for me to the community. You know, like you buy your way in, of course, it costs money because I have lots of employees and budgets. But like at the same time, it's like, I'm not gonna lie, man. Like if you ain't doing nothing, that's your fault, because there is no reason not to succeed in that community. Everything, all the training is there.
Yeah.
Thousands of people from all over the world hanging out. Coaching is available. Services are available. It's just you doing it. And I wish more people would not let fears and obstacles stop them from doing it. What do you think has been your biggest mindset fear so far, or obstacle that's held you back? And then specifically, like how do you push past that when it emerges in your individual walk, when you are by yourself working on your business alone?
Yeah. Oh. So the biggest one that I shared on that spotlight event, right? The biggest one is image management, like the preservation of my image and like who I think I am. And like, I've gotten to this place. I went through a lot of trauma when I was young and just all these things, right? But I've gotten to a place where in my personal life and even at work, you know, I was myself. I was totally fine being totally free, totally myself. And then all of a sudden this business comes and I'm the face of this business. And it's like, ugh, you know, like here I come back to all these image management and self-preservation type of things. And I constantly, you know, partially it's faith. Like I constantly have to be remembering, like, I'm doing this out of the overflow of God's love that he's given me. I can't be focused on myself. Like that's the anti, you know, thing that I'm supposed to be doing. But then the other piece that's really helpful, and I don't know if this is going to come out well, but I think we all feel this way. We maybe just don't say it. So I'm just going to say it. It is helpful for me to see someone else, even in their moments of stumbling, because it reminds me that it's okay for me to be a human. It's okay for me to go out there, I put a reel out and it's like really cringy. The lighting's really bad. Like I'm like, hey, but at the same time, you can tell I'm like not really in it, you know? So it's like really bad.
Patricia, look at my lighting right now. Like, look at, I've been doing this for 10 years and I am in a room right now with a giant porthole window and an old 40-watt lamp. Right. It's okay. It's okay. Right. You know,
right. Okay. That's the thing. Like, I just don't have this. And I think a lot of us have this where we don't have this grace for ourselves. And, you know, so I don't see my message. I see all the faults and this and that. And so I'm trying to like cover them up. And as I'm covering them up, I'm actually covering up the core of the message, which is what brings people in. And so I'm just like literally almost every single day, I'm like, I get on a call, even if I have things to do, I still get on the call because to me, the call is a catalyst. So between like my faith
in the community, you're saying, like in the community.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 100%. You know, so it's like this give and take between like being anchored in my faith and why I'm doing this. And then being anchored in the community in the fact that like, you're not the only one. If you mess up, guess what? Nobody cares. Like we're all just here trying to do the same thing. We're all going to get through it. And I think it's helpful for me to see where other people are.
Isn't it funny how the answer to almost every challenge in our life is fellowship? It's really funny. It's really funny. Like I say this on stage a lot. The enemy loves isolation. Like that's the darkness comes when we're you know, in nature, what happens? Who gets eaten? The deer that gets separated from the pack.
Yeah.
You know, and like, what's the worst thing that can happen to the wolves? Like they run one of the dogs away and it goes out by itself, you know? I did notice this early in our journey, like that the first people I got around were not afraid to share their failures. And I was really blessed with our first online business friends. We had some friends named Jill and Josh Stanton. Really early in our journey, probably year 2, we met our kind of first mastermind people. I had another couple named Jessica and Cliff LaRue. Shout out Jill and Josh, Jessica and Cliff. And they've all built very successful businesses. We're very different people, like, you know, like backgrounds and values. But we came together at a time in a year where we all needed to see each other mess up and succeed at the same time. So it was I really learned that was before even Flip Lifestyle, you know what I'm saying? So it was like really learning that value of that. And it's being able to be in a place where that happens is the difference. Like if you don't have the successes, and I've been in groups where everyone every week was just there to show how much money they made that week and just there to show off their Ferrari or Bugatti or whatever they bought. And, and I'm like, I am in the wrong place because these people like are also probably getting divorced and miserable and unhappy. It is like when you get around other people like this, it's my number one tip for everybody, like get in a community. Like you have to surround yourself with people. No one in your life understands online business. I hate to tell you this. Maybe one person is like, that's cool. But most people are freaking out, going to their 9 to 5. They haven't caught up with the world yet. You have to surround yourself so that you can see grace, not just get grace. Like when you see someone say, well, that's okay. Or like I always tell people too, like, it's hard to imagine that we can reach hundreds of thousands of people, but nobody really sees our mistakes or even notices. Yeah. Like I mess up every minute of every day. I swear something goes wrong every minute of every day, but nobody ever writes in about it. Nobody ever says anything. One time we aired a podcast and the person got, I don't know what happened. It was my editor back in the day, not Kevin, but they just left all the banter and outside stuff on the show. One person wrote in, was like, did you mean to do that? That was kind of cool. And I was like, no, we didn't mean to do that. What was I talking about? Right. Did my kids walk in? Did I like blow my nose on camera? What happened? Like, I don't know. And like, I was freaking out, but nobody really cared, Yeah. But like to see that is good. I used to write an email. Were you on our email list when I used to write 5 Fails Friday?
No, I don't think so. Not yet.
Every Friday, I used to write an email. I actually wrote it down this morning. I'm going to start doing it again in 2023. Every week, I would write in an email of the 5 biggest things I did wrong in marriage, parenting, and business.
Wow.
And they were disasters. They were like totaling cars, clearly traumatized one of my children from something, and they're going to be in therapy for the rest of their life.
You have 5 of those every week?
Oh,
I mean, not to shame.
No, I have more. I just don't have time to write them all down.
Oh,
you know what I'm
funny.
saying? No, I have 5. I mean, literally, it starts out with, "Hey, these are my 5 biggest like abject plane crash disasters." And like I used to write them every week, and we're gonna do it, but we're gonna do it with the team this time. Like we're gonna write down the team's gonna like pull together them, and I try to like everybody submits one, and we pick the best 5, and just to show everybody like. That's the part of the journey that you're probably missing is admitting and accepting failure, because it's like working out. Like, you're first sore when you work out, like for the first time, and then you're a little less sore, and then you're kind of sort of sore sometimes, but not for long,
Yeah.
And you're actually looking for the soreness is what you're looking for. And business is like that. Like if you're going to do this and you're going to win at it, and you're going to change your family's future, you're going to build an inheritance for your children's children, you're going to take control of your time, which lets you take control of your life. Like you have to build calluses, but the cool thing is you don't have to build them on your own. Like you can build calluses. Like if you hear we need a Fails Friday call in the community. I'm writing that down for Delynn. And it's just a call where we all share disasters that went wrong that week.
Calls.
Yes. And I bet it would be the most attended call, because you can build calluses hearing other people's failures when it's authentic and they admit to it, Yeah. And you can build a bigger audience when you admit them yourself. Like if you start doing something like this, where you stop the shiny, protect my image, like look at me. I'm sitting here in a t-shirt. I got half of a stubble beard. Jocelyn's going to be so mad at me when she sees it. She hates it when I don't shave. Go to YouTube and check out my stubble right now, people, if you're not on the YouTube channel. And like when you let go of that, that's when the authenticity comes through. And authenticity and audience both start with an A and a U. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, you get over here, right? So like, you got to get that over there. So like that's where the audience actually grows,
That's a good line.
Oh, I just made that up. That's my new line. I'll make that. That's my new catchphrase. Is that actually work? Do they actually start with the same thing? I'm not good at spelling.
Authenticity.
AUTHAU. Right? Yes, they do.
Yeah.
So we have proven a mathematical concept here, guys. If you want audience,
valuable theory.
You need to be authentic. Okay. So I think we've discovered something here. So let's talk about your audience, because that's clearly what you don't have yet. Right.
Yes, that is correct. But
you have the most important thing. You have an offer that converts. If you can find one, you can find 101. Right. You presented your offer on that call. Someone out there responded to it. with excitement and decided to join.
Yes.
So we know now we just have to find more people that are willing to do this.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts right now on what's next, like for your audience? Like how, if you grow the top of the funnel, everything happens, right? Like you just win when you get more people. Like I've been working on calendars, Patricia, for like a week now, getting ready to plan for the next quarter. It's all based on how are we going to grow our audience. Nothing matters other than that. So what are your thoughts on your audience? Like, how do you want to grow the audience? What do you want to get bigger? How do you want, get people on your list and all that stuff? But like, have you thought about this, or are you just now coming up for air?
All day long. All day long, I try to think and envision like what the funnel is going to look like. Like that's, I can't really do any work until I have a clear idea of what the funnel is going to be. And so right now, the top of the funnel is the podcast. And then it goes in, so it's a podcast, and then it goes into the opt-ins. And then from there, of course, is like the community piece. I only have 10 people on my email list, and I'm pretty sure about 7 of them are people who are supporting, like they're other coaches. They want to see what my email sequence is like. They're just curious, like what's going on. Like I don't know that I think I have maybe like 3 to 4 people on there that I don't know them. They saw the opt-in, they liked it. And those are the people that I try to focus on, like what their actions are. Anyway, so I only have 10 people. And that's, I think, where I'm at. I'm thinking.
Okay, let me pause you real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine 10 people were in the room you're in right now.
Yeah.
Would you say that's only 10 people? You know what I'm saying? Like every email matters. Every email is a human. We want 100, but like I got 10 people. I got 4 people. Why have they not joined? Like that's how you got to like shift there a little bit. I hear people say that all the time. Like, I got 10 people reading my emails. No, you have 10 human beings. 4 of them might join. Like 4 people joining your membership would give you 5, right? So like that would be, I've got to get more. Now it's like, if I can do that, what if I had 140 people join? Like we had 50 people out of 250 join our first email we ever sent out. Small lists can produce big results. And that's a little bit of a mindset shift, and I think that comes from a little bit of comparison too, like, because you probably hear about other people's lists and growth all day, right? So like, don't let that be comparison. You also said something I want to stop you to. Your podcast is not the top of the funnel. Oh. Okay.
Oh, it just clicked.
Yes. So like everyone needs to think about content creation is how we build audience. It is like, I don't know a good analogy for this, but it's like, like before you can put mortar on a brick and start building a wall, you got to order the bricks from somewhere. You got to order the mortar. Right. You got to buy the tools, right? So there is a layer beyond that, and that's where audience comes from. We actually call that the marketplace, right? So your podcast is like, imagine there's the top of your sales funnel. Like imagine we've got the funnel set up and there's a rim around the top. And like when you cross that line, that event horizon of the funnel, you go into the funnel. You actually go into the funnel. Okay. That first layer in the funnel is where your content lives. That's where you're going to build relationship with an audience, right? So relationship is probably a better word. You're building relationship with that podcast. Okay. There is a layer above that we call discovery. And that's like what has to pour in, right? Like there's water behind a spigot. Like if you go outside and you're about to fill up your dog bowl to take to your dog, and there's a little thing that sticks out of your house, right? You're going to turn that spigot on and you're going to discover water coming out of that and pouring into the funnel or the bucket. But that water lives somewhere else. It's in a reservoir somewhere, right? We have to build a pipeline from where our reservoir is to bring the people there, right? That's how we get the discovery process. So you got to come up with ways that people who are actively looking for what they need, which is you, can find your podcast. It's not just if you build it, if they come. Okay. So there's strategies for that. I'll throw some out there. Okay. There's definitely strategies for that. One of the best strategies for podcasters, is guesting, like going out and being a guest on other people's podcasts. Why? Because podcast listeners listen to podcasts. And if they hear you on one podcast, they seek you out and listen to your podcast. Okay. So we need to think of that guesting is a great concept for you. We also sometimes call this our Dream 100. Okay. Like you said, you wanted to write a book and be on Oprah. I was listening earlier, like you have to write down it's not just like, I'm going to try to be on any old podcast. You do have to be on any old podcast in the beginning to build your reputation as a good guest, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you need to go in and say, okay, well, I need to go look in the careers category.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to figure out, like, on Chartable, I think it's called chartable.com, or just search for careers in Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You need to write down the top 100 podcasts, and then with a highlighter, highlight the ones that, you know, like that. Yours is a very female centric brand from the imagery. It's a Christian brand. Like, you could look in Christian podcasts. You need to write down 100 podcasts that you would like to be on. And then you've got to pitch yourself to them and say, I can bring massive value to your audience, and make it all about them. And then maybe you go get on 50 of them, you know?
Yeah. And so thank you so much for that clarification. That, yes. So
yeah, I saw your head go, ding, like your eyes
like,
went,
right.
Yes. The podcast is not the top of the funnel. It's inside the funnel. Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. So that's literally like the point where I'm stuck. Like, I've got I've kind of worked my way backwards, and I'm looking at guesting. I'm thinking like Instagram and YouTube reels. I've heard of a Facebook group. I just, am looking into ads. And so this is like the actual crux of like where I need help.
And social media too, I would not, this is going to be controversial. I would not look to social media to get discovered.
Okay.
Instagram, I would actually put on the content. I would put social media, and I'm changing the way I'm thinking about social media next going forward, because I think social media is shifting. I think social media is getting into the place where it's going to be really like, I already know about you, and that's the only reason I would go to your social media account. Instagram's good for showing like how you live. It's not really good for promotion. Twitter's really good for shouting into the void. Facebook is really good for building culture, relationship. I don't know exactly what the word is yet. I'm still wrestling with this, Instagram is more like content. Okay. So if you're good, social ads are like, definitely you could run ads to your podcast. Like, that's a good strategy. Like, if you have resources to run for listenership, that would be good. But social media is more like, I'm already knowing about you, and I just want to interact with you more, right? It's like a podcast, like a blog, like a something else. Okay. We are not using social media for discovery next year in our plans at all. Like, I'm not going to do it. It's only for people who already know about us at all, period.
Okay.
And very limited at that. Now, what is good for finding you is search. And the two biggest search engines on the planet are YouTube and Google.
Okay.
So a good, strong YouTube strategy is also very beneficial. It's really helpful because you can record your podcast video and just put it on YouTube as a beginning strategy. But people search for things like how to have a better career. How can Christians get ahead in the marketplace? How can, they look for these things. So YouTube and search, like having a blog where you do think about your show notes a little bit more and get more search traffic, is also a good thing. So if you can kind of think of like places where people search, Pinterest is really good for female centric audiences, because not that you have to only serve females. I'm just saying, like, I mean, I'm looking at your podcast art. It's all women. 90% of the pictures on your little background are women, right? When I go to your website, I see women, it just makes sense that there's feminine energy coming through here, right? Like, but like thinking about like Pinterest is a very female centric search engine. It's not a social media network. That is a search engine. So LinkedIn, where are people connecting for careers, right? This is what you've got to think of at your next level for discovery. And once you do that and get a good strat, now I don't say you do all the things, but like, you got to figure out ways people who already know about this topic and are already looking for this topic discover Patricia Ortega. And then they go to your podcast, and then they get on your email list, and then they become a member. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Make sense?
Yes. It definitely does.
What's your instinct on where that is for you?
As much as I'm not a fan of video, I wasn't a fan of talking into a podcast, and now I love it. So I really do think the video, so like YouTube shorts, YouTube videos. Yeah. Like I'm thinking of going in down that. And I feel like I need just a little bit more grounding to get into LinkedIn. I just feel like I want to have several clients, like been a little bit more established before I hop into LinkedIn.
Well, you're a great guest too, and YouTube and guesting go hand in hand. And video is the ultimate differentiator. Okay. 99% of people are scared to start an online business. 99% of the people who get over that and try to start it are scared of video.
Yep. I know that. That's why I'm going for it.
So the second you decide to do it, you have set yourself apart. I mean, it's like, when you're not afraid to accidentally pick your nose on camera or something, right? Like, or have a stain on your shirt because you got to do a video, or not shave in 3 days and your wife's going to get mad at you like me, right? Like, that's when that's the difference maker, and it takes courage to put yourself out there and get comfortable. Here's a tip. I never listen or watch myself ever.
Oh no. I have listened to I'm probably half the listens on my thing. I listen to myself all the time, and I'm not going to lie to you. It is the best thing.
It's the best thing ever. You got to just let it go. Let it go.
I'm just like to the point where I'm like,
let the balloon go and let it float off. And it's like the red balloon, like, the peaceful red balloon is floating away. And now it's in the world and I never have to worry about it. Someone will tell you if you screw something up. They really will.
Oh no, I actually listen. Like, I listen to mine all the time. On purpose, because it helps me to like improve. It's just like a thing in my mind where I'm like,
if you've got to let it go, I'm telling you, you've got to let it go, because like at first, you're still in the beginning. You're 16 episodes in. You're like the first 100 episodes, 20. There you go. You're the first 100 podcasts. That's fine because you're trying to find your voice. Like, I go watch my big stage talks when I talk at like 10,000 seat arenas. I will watch those a little bit because that's like such a high stakes thing, and like you're still finding your voice, but there comes a point where we call it crank out content, right? Like when you don't create, I don't create content anymore. I crank out content, and you ain't got time to worry about that because you will find every blemish. It will slow you down. You won't get it out there. And I especially don't listen when I'm a guest on someone's podcast. Because I don't know how they're going to edit it. I don't know what they're going to do to me. Like, I'm in their world, and like my control freakness comes out.
A meme.
I become I'm not going to become a meme. Did you know do you know me and Jocelyn are a meme? Did you know this?
No.
Okay. So this actually happened. Like, I'm going to put this in the show notes. If you want to see this picture, we might be able to phase it onto the YouTube thing, or I can go put it on it. Okay. So this is a little before we kind of did Flip Lifestyle, but like we actually went viral. Jocelyn and I were taking pregnancy pictures. Okay. This is very embarrassing, but awesome at the same time. Okay. So I was taking pregnancy pictures with our daughter, and we were doing things. And my father-in-law is a photographer, and he was doing these family photos. And there was a basketball goal in his basement, like the kids had all played on, like a little Nerf goal or whatever. Yeah. And I was like, Jocelyn, this would be awesome. She was wearing like a black shirt. And we had a black background. And I was like, pull up your shirt over your stomach and let me get down and act like I'm slam dunking your stomach into the basketball goal. We'll like do a perspective shot, and I'll just be like, like my mouth was open really big. And like, I was like Michael Jordan. And I had my hand like palming her stomach when she was pregnant. And Jocelyn's like, I'll do it if you cut off my head so no one can prove it's me. I'm like, deal. And so we took this picture flippantly. We thought it was hilarious, and it was no big deal, right? We just took this picture. So Jocelyn's sister was like, this is the most cringy thing I have ever seen in my entire life. I'm going to submit this to Awkward Family Photos.
She didn't.
She did. And she submits it to Awkward Family Photos, and it goes millions of views viral. It gets put in every pregnancy awkward list of all time. It's like in Parenthood magazine. I got sent last week. Someone on my team goes, "Is this you?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's me." Every year, a couple times a year, it gets put in a new top 20 list, and it's constantly floating around the internet. And it's me. Like, you can go look this up.
Does it show Jocelyn?
No, her head's cut off. Right. All right. And then we get inducted into it gets so many views. It's one of the top viewed photos ever on awkwardfamilyphotos.com.
Yeah.
We're in the Awkward Family Photos Hall of Fame. They print us in the Holiday Christmas Extravaganza book. So every year at Christmas time, this book is being marketed by Awkward Family Photos, and it's out there. We are a actual card in the board game. There's an Awkward Family Photos board game. And our picture is in the board game. We get my aunt, or Jocelyn's aunt, was in Las Vegas at a hotel one day, and was walking through the gift shop, and she was like, oh my gosh, the Awkward Family Photos had put us on a magnet. And she bought these magnets, and we have magnets on the refrigerator in the thing. And so like, this is crazy. It like takes on a life of its own. I get no royalties or anything. I
was going to say you could retire off of
we get nothing. We get nothing. We had to sign away our rights. But like, it's funny because people would be like, most people would freak out to even take that picture, to post that picture, to do the thing.
Yeah.
But like, you just put things out there and you don't ever think about them anymore. And who knows? But now it's like the most hilarious story, right?
Yeah.
Like we get to say, because it's out there. And if I can be out there slam dunking my child through a basketball goal, you guys can put yourself out there and not watch your videos anymore and not worry about it.
Fair. That's fair. We'll take it.
All right. Well, this is great. You've got amazing momentum. You know what to do. You just got to do it now. You got to go get your funnel right, get it out there. It's just so inspiring. Like, there's so many people out there, man, that are going to draw inspiration from this show, and you like, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And you have decided to give yourself no chance, but anything but success. And I know that watching you, I have no doubt that's going to happen. We are super proud of you too, by the way. Like, you have fans in the Flip Lifestyle community, and I am one of them, Patricia. So real quick, again, before we go, tell everybody your action step. Like, what's your action step, say, in the next 24 hours to get the ball rolling on building this audience? Like, what are you going to go take action on? Because with no action, nothing happens. So we got to have action step. And then tell everybody one more time where your website is and what you do there, so that if anybody's listening and wants to go check it out, they can maybe reach out to you and see if they can get a little help building that uncommon career.
Awesome. Yeah, short and sweet. My first step is going to be to post up my podcast and to do a video, my first video on YouTube, and to do 2 reels. That's my goal for this week now.
Nice.
In the last 5 minutes, I came up with that with our conversation. And then you can find me at theuncommoncareer.com. And the podcast is called The Uncommon Career, the career podcast for Christians.
There you go. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Patricia. I appreciate you for coming on here, being vulnerable, and helping everybody in the audience succeed.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, guys, that wraps up my interview with Patricia Ortega. Man, that was a good show. That was a good interview, guys. If you didn't learn something from that, you ain't trying. You're not listening. You're not paying attention, because you saw a courageous woman going out into the marketplace, putting all her chips on the table and saying, I will not fail. And you saw at the end, all it was, she just needed to slide one mindset issue, one piece of the puzzle in place. And now she knows exactly what to do next. And she's going to take action inside the Flip Lifestyle community to make that happen. And that's what we want for all you guys to, man, why are you not in the community? You need to be over at fliplifestyle.com. You need to be checking out everything that we got going on, seeing all of our communities and courses and coaching programs that we have available for you.